Morning. It's Instigating Women and Friends. And Liz and I think you've all probably heard plenty from us for the last few sessions. And so we have a guest today, Graciela Cruz. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you. It's good to join you. My name's Graciela Cruz. I think I'm supposed to introduce myself now, right?
Go ahead.
So based in Grand Rapids, Michigan, or Ada, Michigan. And I work at Amway and I lead the transformation office, which was stood up in the last year to help support some of the significant transformation going on within the enterprise across all different parts of the business. So it's a big shift in terms of career, and happy to get a chance to join you guys this morning.
Thank you. So as you say all those big words, it sounds
big words.
Pretty impressive.
Yes. So many big words.
So where'd you start? Have you always wanted to be in that kind of role?
No, it's where to begin. So my background is in engineering. I studied mechanical engineering, born and raised in California, proud member of Nerd Nation, went to Stanford and got my degree in mechanical engineering. And as I was graduating, or getting close to it, I always thought I wanted to be a rocket scientist or some things into space, right? Like what higher human endeavor is there than to be in the cosmos? And so I did a lot of work my concentration was in advanced thermodynamics and, very much focused in that space. I had a spreadsheet and a plan, and I was going to, work in aerospace for a few years and then come back and get a concentration in aero-astro. And so as I got to graduation, I was actually looking at moving to Seattle to work for Boeing. And so went up there, I thought I could wear plaid and listen to grunge music and it would be awesome. And, it was great. It was a great opportunity. And just randomly, it's all these weird sliding doors that happen that just take you on a completely different path. But randomly had gotten a call from Procter & Gamble, who had a plant based near Santa Barbara, where my family is from. And I'd never considered them. They didn't recruit at Stanford. And so they hadn't really been on my radar. But I figured it was a free flight from Palo Alto down to Santa Barbara, and I could see my family for the weekend. So why not go and check it out? And it was a plant that made Bounty and Charmin. So it was tissue towel, running the web, making the web, sending it over, making all these little toilet paper and paper towel rolls. And I don't know, something awoke in me where I felt like the pace of manufacturing fit a lot better. So ended up turning down Boeing, going to work for P&G. So instead of making rocket ships, I made toilet paper for 8 years. So it was a big difference. Who'd have thunk? But it was great. It was operational leadership in manufacturing, just learning all about manufacturing systems, about leading people, all sorts of things you don't typically get the opportunity to when you're fresh out of college. So great experience getting started in my career. So if you guys ever are up late and thinking, how on earth is toilet paper made? Or, how is this? Just text me and I'll walk you guys through it.
Awesome. So I've used a lot of your products.
Yes.
On other, I was a
professional
TPer.
Oh my goodness, that kind of breaks my heart because you put so much work into it, right?
It's a waste, right? Oh. I wasted a lot of your product, and yet at the time it felt like I was doing something really really fun and important.
She was instigating.
It was, yeah. I didn't, yeah, and that I can support that.
I'm curious, thinking about your career and how for so many women there who grew up excited about science and math, there are so many off ramps, I feel like, that lead us in different directions and messages that lead us in different directions. So I'm curious, in your education, your training, your career, what were some of those pivotal moments where you actually got a message of, yes, this is what you should be doing. You deserve to do this work. You deserve to be here.
that there are a lot of signals that make you second guess yourself. I think, even just I believe in my my engineering cohort, there's probably 25% female representation or something under that. So, you're with a lot of dudes when you're studying some of this stuff, classes on internal combustion engines and things like that, where you look around and you wonder, should I be here? Is this what I should be doing? And even in manufacturing, it is predominantly male, and so you step into it. And I remember in my initial leadership positions, I'm 22, 23, right? And I'm leading folks that are twice my age, and I remember there'd be guys that would tell me they had socks older than me, and I kind of would think, is this is this a compensation discussion? Like, why are your socks so old? Like, what is going on? So you get all these different inputs that I think get to the core of that, the imposter syndrome we talk about so much. But I think it's just recognizing it, finding a network of women that are in a similar space that can give you some confidence that you're not alone in the feelings, and recognizing, there's a little bit of push you're going to have to put into that dynamic, where these circles of conversation don't naturally open up in the same way. And you're just going to have to, again, find that space, have confidence in your technical capabilities. And, it's a balance, because you also need to approach it with the spirit of learning and of not having all the answers. And so it's that contradictory space of having confidence in what you're bringing to the table and what you're adding, but not pivoting so much that you feel like you've got to have this armor and that you have to have all the answers. And so often it's just, understanding that what you're showing up with is an enabler to how you engage the balance of the organization that's working through issues, how you engage the team you're leading, and how you can bring out the best in them by leveraging what your skill set looks like.
That's really cool. So have there been moments for you where you feel like you have impacted the culture and the approach to representation, and what did that look like?
I think you hope so, right? You kind of hope it's not all for naught. I think, I've always been very engaged in mentoring other women, and in particular women that are in a technical space or in a leadership space, just because I remember coming up, and it's few and far between, right? And especially as you look at ethnic diversity and other elements of it, it starts to get scarcer and scarcer. And so I think those one-on-one connections, there's the dynamic of women don't put in for opportunities until they've got 12 of the 10 qualifications. It's very true. And so being intentional with hiring, being intentional with drawing people out, and really being intentional with getting women to think about their future in much more concrete terms. What are those opportunities you're interested in? And instead of focusing on what you think you're not doing well, focus on what you're going to need to prepare yourself for that future opportunity. How does that feedback, how do those different elements you're working on help to prepare you for where you want to go? And then beyond that, my style is very candid, very informal as well. So I'd like to hope that I can create an atmosphere where people feel like they can be themselves, and it's not expected that you're this cookie cutter mold of what a leader should be.
So when did you start to feel like you could be yourself? Because you're not only direct and candid, you're fun.
Yeah,
and you're
fun.
funny.
I am funny.
Yeah.
Yes.
So when did you let that
Oh my
show?
goodness. I think that's some of the gift of starting out in operations, is you get so much engagement with a team, and you can go out to the floor and just talk to folks and joke around. And, that's my favorite part of, that joy of connecting, that joy of, cracking up and having fun. So I kind of feel like I've always had the privilege of being able to bring my full self. I do think that's, and I think it is having grown up in that initial, there's a duality, because there'd be certain spaces where, that could be intimidating, or it feels like I've got to be, buttoned up and technical, but those weren't massive. Like you kind of get through that pretty quickly. And from there, I feel like I always had a network of trusted leaders that knew me and supported me and wanted me to show up for who I am, not for, something where I'm leaving a part of my identity at the door. And even transitioning, moving from California to Michigan is a big transition, and it's different culturally. It's very different. It's just a very different environment, but I do feel, it's something I can't afford to compromise on, because I can't walk past the dad joke. I can't walk past the pun. That's who I am. And, if that's a non-starter, it's not going to be a place that I can thrive in any case. And I think I've had tremendous support through my career in that sense.
Nice.
But it's got to be soul crushing to feel you can't be yourself, right?
Yes. It is. A lot of people we talk to in our coaching practices are at that soul crushing state.
Yeah. And
They
hopefully,
just feel
like,
stuck.
yeah. And I kind of feel like maybe me being a weirdo makes it okay for others to just not be so buttoned up and stiff, right?
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, you mentioned believing that we're ready, right? And that a lot of women, and even more so women of color, grapple with the messages that tell them that they have to be even more prepared than your standard white guy. And that's something that a lot of my clients have had to overcome, is almost like a doubling down, a message as a female, but then also a message as a woman of color, that, just be glad to be here, right? Be grateful, as opposed to walking into a salary negotiation, or when you find out there's an opportunity for advancement, instead of saying, why me, saying, why not me?
Sure.
Right. And
Absolutely.
so I love the way that you articulated that. Instead of focusing on what do I not have, what do I need to do to prepare for this next opportunity?
Well, and recognizing it's not like no one's ever prepared for the situations they enter. Like that's just, you got to throw that out the window. And you've got the things that you lean on are intellectual agility, a willingness to learn, and humility. And if you're walking in believing, you knock it out of the park day one, like you're kind of missing the point, right? And I think that's the destructive myth about all of this, is feeling, you're going to enter this and have it all together, or feeling there's a stigma on listening and wanting to learn and wanting to understand before, you put your branding all over everything that you're saying and come forth with this tablet of answers. And so I think there's, that is something that's just really pervasive in corporate culture, is, you are the person and you're going to come in with the answers. I don't think that's ever the case. And it is, I think it's an uncomfortable space as women to say, I deserve this, let's walk through why you're not in a space where you see this, or let's pushing on pay and income and, transparency on what people are making. Like all of those are still super uncomfortable conversations. And I think we're just scratching the surface of really getting to a place where we can push for equity in that.
Yeah, there's a willingness that we have to be in a place of discomfort.
Oh yeah, super uncomfortable. Yeah.
Yes.
And my mantra is, I eat awkward for breakfast.
I know. I love that. I was just telling someone my strength is awkward conversations.
Well, as you're
You
both,
know?
as you're both speaking, I'm thinking we're all three moms.
Yeah.
And this imposter syndrome feeling and this awkwardness. I'm like, when we had that first baby, I didn't feel like I was a mom. I didn't feel
Yeah.
ready. There was no playbook. And so I
Oh
try
my
to use that
gosh.
analogy sometimes, like, why would I feel like just because I got some new fancy title at work, I'm suddenly ready and prepared? So what did I
Yeah.
do when I was becoming a new mom? I researched, I talked to a lot of people, I asked for a lot of help. It's kind of the same thing.
It is. I remember I was on maternity leave and I'd have, my daughter I did a lot of baby wearing, right? So she was always like stuck to me. And I'd walk down the street, like around the corner, there was this really good Mexican place. And so I'd walk every morning and get burrito and come home and watch Law and Order. And invariably she'd have like hot sauce on her head because I'm like eating over her. Is this motherhood? Is this it? Like, is this?
Yes, it's very
Am I
fancy
winning?
and sexy. Yes.
She's got like habaneros on her head. I'm like, oh dear. How am I
Such
going
a
to
great
explain this to the
image.
pediatrician?
Yeah.
But we figure it out.
We figure it out. And it's
Yeah.
one step at a time, one day at a time. Yeah.
My God, yeah, but many of our episodes recently have been about my teenagers messaging me that I'm so lame and I'm so dumb and I don't know anything. And
Oh my gosh.
I feel less prepared for that than I did
Yeah, I'm not ready.
for babies. I felt unprepared for that, but this is just really messing with my identity. Talk about having to, unpack the story and decide that what you're being told is not true.
Teenagers are awful. Yeah.
They're horrible.
I know.
They're aliens.
Zoloft by the time I get there.
Yes.
Yes, you might have discovered them if you would have gone on your space expeditions.
I know, right? I know.
Really.
But no, I think it is, well, and I think something that's helped me, going into opportunities that feel very new and very different is really sitting in the fear for a bit. You get this situation, you're intimidated by it. And there's that like initial intense reaction and adrenaline rush of it and anxiety. And I'm one of those folks, I just like to sit in that darkness and whatever that is and really go deep and understand it. And I feel like it's super weird. But I feel like the more time I spend really mining that uncomfortable sensation, like really mining, what am I actually afraid of? Like bottom line it, like worst case scenario, what is it that I'm so afraid is going to happen? And generally it all ends in losing face. Like everything comes back to that in some capacity. Like when I really sit there and it's like, okay, am I afraid of job loss? Am I afraid of like, what am I actually really afraid of? Because again, moving on with my mom in Santa Barbara doesn't sound like the worst thing in the world either. And so, when it really comes down to it, it's generally not appearing to have it all together. And a lot of it ends up, a lot of this thrash ends up coming back to that. And so I do find naming it, saying it out loud, confiding in others and saying, this is really what's freaking me out. It's gradually, it starts to lose its power because you're not trying to purport this vision of having it all together. Like that releases quite a bit.
Good.
What would you say to a teenager? This is like a superpower you're describing.
Yeah, like a TikTok video. What I say to them, or like what?
Like
I'm so not hip. It's so funny. So I still considered myself. I was approached to be the executive sponsor for our Young Professionals Network, and I was thinking, like, does that mean I'm not a young professional anymore?
Oh my
When did
gosh.
this happen? Is it the gray hair? Like, when did this happen? So sorry, Liz, go ahead.
No, that I was reading an article about the younger generation, and the article didn't even mention my generation. It
Yeah,
was all, the
no,
article was about
it's
millennials
done.
and Gen Z, and no mention
Where did
of
X
Gen
go?
X.
Yeah,
I
we're
was
dinosaurs. We're the
horrified.
boomers now. Yep.
We're the new boomers.
Yes.
That's
But with like
really
flannel, right? And like grunge music. So it's cooler.
Yeah, we're cool, of course.
Yeah.
the cool boomers, but we're still like irrelevant is what it seemed like. And I didn't like that at all. That was just this morning. But so my question is, what would you say to a teenage girl who's grappling with that moment of like staying in the discomfort of being like, yes, I should do science. Yes, I do deserve to be here. And because I feel like there's some key in there to getting more young women to stay in STEM.
Mm-hmm. I would just say, I think early exposure to those spaces is important. And I would just say that, wherever life takes you, there are such powerful elements to having a strong math and science background. That's kind of how I always looked at it is, all else fails, like you've got this strong technical like backbone of understanding how the world works, like understanding the physical elements of, and I'm super biased because I'm a nerd. But those are the things where I would just it depends on why there's doubt, right? Is it you're interested, but it's intimidating and there's all these smart boys or, I don't think I'm going to be good at math. And I mean, no one's ever good at anything. You just got to practice, right? And it's, I would just, I've got a Girl Scout troop. So my daughter's troop, I lead it. And it's a lot of work. But I've had the girls since they're third grade now. So I've had them since they were kindergartners. And some of it is just the confidence gap starts at age 7 or so, right? Like when girls start to think they're not as good in certain spaces, or the boys do that, the girls do this. And half of it is just exposure and demystifying and kind of saying, hey, we're gonna talk about gravity, or we're going to talk about simple machines, and giving a literacy and a hands-on element to some of these things in a space that's not as intimidating. And I would just my point to them is just to give them exposure and say, I'm an engineer, I'm a full-time executive, it's important for me to invest this time in giving you exposure to these different elements of the world. And by the way, we've got 2 other parents that are female engineers, and we've got this other woman that's a doctor, and all these different things that I think just this pointing out the signals and the cues and the spaces where you can what you see around you is what you internalize as what you're capable of doing when you see those parallels. She kind of looks like me, that's a woman, that's something I can aspire to be. And so it is, one, it's saying there's great opportunities in STEM. It's something worth checking out. And who in the world wouldn't want to be really good at calculus? And, the second piece is, sure, it's work, but it is for everyone. And, maybe there's Doogie Housers and whatever else, but everyone's on their own path. And, if it's something that excites you, it's something that's putting work into.
Nice.
That's really great. It's informing me even today, because we have conferences, and I realize we're almost out of time here, but instead of giving my daughter, I have a third grader too.
Oh, yay.
Instead of telling her to research dolphins for the 900th time today, I'm going to tell her to research gravity.
Yes.
Seriously, you are informing me as a parent right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's so tough. I'm such a, oh gosh, it's so tough not to be like a tiger helicopter control. I'm so controlling. And so, I mean, shocker, right, Gwen?
Yeah.
It's tough because my daughter's super artistic and crafty and all these different things. And, I want her to want to do differential equations. But it's supporting and fostering her creativity, building on it. And I don't know, I mean, it's such a marathon on parenthood too, right? Like you can't, it's so like such a long journey. I mean, it seems like just yesterday I was dropping burritos on her head, and there's still so much in front of us. But I don't know, I think exposure to different elements, you know, getting, not, I mean, role model carries a lot of weight, but just getting examples of women that are doing some different things out there. And I mean, there is more and more representation every day, and that helps. But it's still an area I think that there's quite a bit of work to do.
So it's all about asking the right questions of our daughters and women in general. Questions that take them maybe down a different path than the social hierarchies generally would ask them to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm taking away being willing to sit in discomfort too.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
In the
yeah.
workplace and
Yeah.
in those meetings where we're deciding whether to ask for more opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Those are the growth moments.
Super uncomfortable and awkward.
Yeah.
That's where the good stuff lives,
It
right?
really does. It really does. Well, thank you so much.
Absolutely. It's good
Appreciate
seeing you
it.
guys.
Words of wisdom. You too. Have a good one.
Have a good weekend. Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.